I'm letting you take care of my child. Think of it as practice for parenting and make sure you do a good job.
Mary, my sister-in-law says this. Mary slammed the phone down before I could reply. Right at 4 p.m., the doorbell rang at our house. I knew who was outside the front door without even looking. Heavily pregnant, I cradled my big belly and made my way to the door.
Hello?
There stood Tiffany, Mary's daughter, looking down in front of the doorway. She's in the 3rd grade, 9 years old, and in her arms, she cradled her 2-week-old baby brother, Kevin. Welcome.
I'm sorry. If it's too much trouble, it's okay.
Don't be shy. Please come in. I spoke gently to my niece, who looked apologetic, and invited them both inside. It's been exactly a week since they started coming to my house. I'm currently pregnant, and until last week, I was working because my job is desk-based, and I earned more than my husband. I just started my maternity leave as I entered the final month. That's when Mary, as if waiting for this moment, demanded babysitting.
Take care of a 9-year-old and a newborn. It's good practice for parenting.
Mary, who called me with such a request, started sending Tiffany, burdened with bags, to our house right after school the next day. The first time they came to our house, my niece had the same apologetic face as today.
I'm sorry.
That was the first thing she said.
Mom told me to stay here until she picks me up,
she whispered in a frail voice. On the internet, you often hear that the key to refusing babysitting requests is to say no the first time. Once you feed them, it's over. Such words are being thrown around. I should have refused right there, but I couldn't turn away my niece, who was looking down with a bag carelessly stuffed with diapers and bottles on her shoulder, and my crying newborn nephew in her arms.
I'll take care of Kevin.
While at our house, she behaved quietly and took good care of her brother. I was surprised at how adeptly she managed. It's okay. It's good practice for when my baby comes. I said that to my niece. But taking care of a newborn with a big belly was hard. Preparing milk, changing diapers, each task was a struggle. It's already nerve-wracking to take a 2-week-old baby outside, let alone leave them in the care of an elementary schooler. Is Mary doing her parenting right at home? As I watched my nephew peacefully sleeping after feeding, and my niece sitting quietly beside him, I grew very worried about them both.
Babysitting was fun, right?
On the first day, Mary came to pick up her nieces after 8 p.m. Without a word of thanks to me, she checked the bag she had given to her niece and immediately started yelling.
The formula's almost gone. How much did you use?
Just the amount it says. It's not visibly less at first glance. I didn't use that much, but Mary seemed desperate to complain about something. She confronted me with eyes like a demon.
Diluted 3 times more. It's wasteful. That's why people with no parenting experience are useless.
Mary shouted, spraying spit, then yanked her niece's arm and left. This wasn't the first time Mary had been abusive towards me. She had looked down on me ever since I went with my husband to his parents' house to announce our marriage.
Getting married at 36? You're practically an old lady.
That was her welcome to me, whispered where no other family member could hear. Admittedly, I never imagined myself getting married at this age. I met my husband through a mutual boss, and we started dating after his persistent pursuit. I was drawn to his kindness and sincerity, and our relationship smoothly progressed to marriage. Regardless of the reason, she said, marrying old is ugly. When I explained how my husband and I met, she dismissed it with those words. But it didn't stop there.
Your child will definitely be ugly, just bringing unhappiness. And giving birth at your age, the baby will likely have defects.
Proud of having her own children at 20, Mary had been cruel when I announced my pregnancy. So, it was expected that she'd complain after dumping her children on me. And sure enough, she berated me and left. Why do I have to be spoken to like that when I am doing all I can? I immediately consulted my husband, Matt. He'd been working late, returning after 11 p.m. for about 2 months, and I didn't want to worry him, so I had kept silent about everything. Therefore, he didn't know Mary had been leaving her children at our house. I had intended to keep silent, but I couldn't stand her attitude. I was told by Mary that the kids came over today. She said they'll come again tomorrow, but I'm worried about taking a newborn outside. Can you tell her to stop? When I brought this up, my husband, who had just finished his bath and started his evening drink, looked very displeased.
You're on leave, so you must be free, right?
My belly is big and moving is hard, but I'm still managing the household chores, aren't I?
Don't lie. You're just lazing around because it's your last month.
He said that and slammed his hand on the desk. His face, with eyes raised, was just like Mary when she scolded me. I had never seen my husband like this and was bewildered.
If you're not doing much housework, you can at least take care of them.
Don't be irresponsible. What if something happens?
Take care of your niece and nephew properly. Unlike you, Mary manages her household perfectly while raising 2 children alone. Her husband is away on business, and she has no one else to rely on, so give her a break.
My husband quickly dismissed my concerns and refused to listen further. Both my parents have passed away. My in-laws are too busy to care for other families, as my mother-in-law is taking care of my father-in-law, who has bad legs. If Matt doesn't stand by me, who else do I have to talk to? Distressed, I told my husband about all the terrible things Mary had said to me and pleaded for his help. But his response was very cold.
Mary is going through a lot, so she might speak harshly sometimes. She doesn't mean it.
It's more than just a little. She called me ugly and said my baby would be defective. I raised my voice and my husband sighed deeply, looking utterly annoyed. He looked at me mockingly, snorted, and said,
"Is the truth, isn't it? Ugly."
Then he turned on the TV, shifting his gaze away from me, and started laughing loudly at whatever was on. Why? How can they be so cruel? Where did the kind and sincere Matt go? I was just stunned. The next day and the day after, Mary sent her niece and nephew to our house again.
The kids. Noise is too much. I'm sleeping at a hotel.
That was on the 4th day since the children started coming over, just when my husband was complaining about not being able to relax at home. Mary was picking her up late at 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., and her husband was complaining about not being able to relax at home. I was too exhausted from the unfamiliar task of childcare to stop him. On the 5th night, Mary didn't come home until after midnight. I put my niece and nephew to bed in the back room and confronted Mary.
What were you doing until this time? Resting my body. Tired from housework and childcare. Got a problem? Please stop. Staying up late is bad for my pregnant body. It doesn't matter if a defective child is born, right? Enough. What if something happens to my baby? Then so be it. It'll save on food costs, right?
I was speechless at Mary's response. Talking to her is pointless. Same with my husband. They're no help. Maybe I should consult my in-laws. But I hesitated, not wanting to burden them as they're already dealing with caregiving. A week passed since the kids first came, and I still hadn't called.
And Lucy, I'm sorry,
Tiffany, my niece, said with a sorry face. Don't apologize, Tiffany. It's not your fault.
But you're tired because of me and Kevin, right? Mom should be taking care of Kevin.
Tiffany looked close to tears, genuinely concerned for me and her brother. I had spent the week not only taking care of my nephew, but also talking a lot with my niece. By now, she would even laugh at my jokes, and we had become quite close. Her kindness was a comfort to me, feeling so alone. "Tiffany, your mom is tired and needs a rest." No matter how badly Mary treated me, she was still an irreplaceable mother to her children. I never spoke ill of her in front of her kids. But upon hearing my words, my niece immediately shook her head vigorously.
She always leaves everything at home to me and just sleeps.
Really? I must have looked very foolish at that moment.
She just lies on the couch, watching TV and laughing.
I remembered my husband's image from a few days ago, ignoring me and laughing loudly at the TV. What kind of chores does Tiffany do?
Oh, I do a lot, like laundry and washing dishes.
That's why your hands are so rough. I had been applying hand cream to my niece's rough hands daily, thinking it was from playing at school, but I was shocked to learn the real reason.
Yeah, and I take care of all of Kevin's needs too.
No wonder she was so good at feeding him milk. I remembered being surprised by how quickly she changed diapers, and then recalled something else that worried me: Kevin's diaper rash. How often do you change Kevin's diaper?
Once a day. Here it's 3 times though.
What? Really?
Mom says it's wasteful to change it more.
My niece's shocking revelations continued.
And Kevin only gets fed when Mom feels like it.
I had noticed Kevin wasn't as chubby as other babies, but didn't realize this was why. Mary had insisted I dilute the formula 3 to 4 times more than normal, and I thought it was just a complaint against me. But it turned out she actually was doing that.
I'm fine because I eat at school, but it's sad for Kevin.
And for meals other than lunch?
Just milk and the crusts of bread. It tastes good with a little sugar.
Isn't that a lie? I was speechless, contrasting with my niece's smile. I needed to tell my husband, but he was ignoring all my messages. Furthermore, I didn't know which hotel he was in, so I had no choice but to wait for them to come back.
"I'm back. Hey, aren't you here?"
The next day when he returned, I was lying in bed, feeling unusually heavy.
"I guess she's out."
I was reaching for the bedroom doorknob when I heard that.
Lucky me. Don't have to see the ugly face.
Mary's voice followed, and it seemed my husband was on hands-free with her. How could she brazenly call me ugly to my husband? I strained to hear his response.
"Today's my lucky day. Annoying to have an old woman I married for money around all day."
I gasped in shock. My husband not only agreed with Mary, but also insulted me. Fortunately, he didn't hear me over his loud phone call.
Poor Matt. Having to deal with an old pregnant woman he just wants money from.
Yeah, a real mistake and the worst. Never thought she could get pregnant at that age.
I was shocked by his cruel words and quickly started recording on my phone.
I'm relieved, actually. I can relax by dumping the annoying kids on you.
I bet you're feeding a nice story to your husband on a business trip.
I tell him Lucy insists on taking them, so I let her for 2 hours on weekdays to rest my postpartum body.
When did I ever say I wanted to take care of them? And she comes to pick them up past midnight on the worst days. What a liar! I wanted to burst out and confront them, but I bit my lip and continued listening.
Now, I just lie down and do some online shopping to pass the time, but I'm planning to go out shopping soon.
Despite Mary's inhuman comments, my husband was laughing loudly. Their disgusting laughter echoed through the house, making me feel immensely uncomfortable.
How about you, Matt? Things going well with the new girlfriend?
New girlfriend? As their conversation escalated with excitement, Mary dropped a bombshell. I pressed my ear against the door, not wanting to miss a word.
Of course, young girls are the best. I plan to divorce Lucy after using up her money and switch to someone else.
What about child support?
I won't pay any. I'll just disappear after the divorce.
So, my husband was only interested in my money. His pursuit and kindness were all for money. Cheating on a pregnant woman, and planning to abandon me when I'm no longer useful. I was fooled into marrying such a person, furious and shaken. I trembled with anger. I couldn't tell if my tears were from sadness or rage as I cried bitterly. I won't forgive them. After crying my heart out, I vowed revenge. 2 weeks passed, and today, as usual, my niece arrived with her brother. Mary came too, and our doorbell rang just after 7 p.m.
I adjusted to your schedule, so the least you can do is give me a Chanel bag as an apology.
Mary's shrill voice was about her having to accompany the kids because I said I had plans and couldn't take them until the evening. After all I've done without even a word of appreciation, she has the audacity to demand a bag for a slight delay. Irritated, I led Mary and the kids to the living room. There, another person was waiting.
What a horrible thing to say!
The moment Mary saw who it was, her face froze. I almost burst out laughing at her dumbfounded expression.
Bill?
It was Mary's husband, Bill. I had called him beforehand.
Why are you here?
Mary's face turned pale. In contrast, my niece looked unusually happy.
Dad, it's been so long. I'm so happy to see you.
Me too, sweetie.
Next to my tearful niece, Mary looked visibly shaken, her eyes wide. As this was happening, another figure appeared.
What's all this noise in the living room? Wait, what?
My husband, who came home cursing, froze the moment he saw Bill. Welcome back, Matt.
Hey, what's this about? Weren't Dad and Mom supposed to be here?
I had emailed him to come home because family was visiting, but I never specifically said it was his parents. He must have assumed, and felt obligated to return, not wanting them to see how he neglected his heavily pregnant wife.
You tricked me?
Huh? Bill is family, right? I didn't lie. My husband looked frustrated at my response. So, there we were, a scene of two deceitful siblings facing their comeuppance.
You, Mary, have been dumping your kids on Lucy and making Tiffany do all the housework and childcare?
They begged to be taken care of. I've been doing all the housework and childcare at home.
I never said I wanted to take them in, and I've already told Bill about the terrible treatment of Tiffany and Kevin.
Shut up, you old woman!
Mary regretted shouting as soon as she did.
That's your true nature.
I just got a little excited.
Furthermore, you've been neglecting to provide proper meals for the kids. I'm taking them to the hospital tomorrow and we're getting a divorce.
Wait, that's too harsh.
Mary pleaded, but Bill was unyielding. That should be it. That's because I had documented everything about the kids and recorded conversations, including the phone call between my husband and Mary, and shared it all with Bill.
What are you thinking? Meddling in someone else's family?
You're still defending Mary, even when the kids' lives were at stake?
Even so, it's none of our business.
Then let's talk about us. I presented several pieces of evidence of my husband's infidelity. The day after I discovered his betrayal, I hid a voice recorder in his study. It had recorded countless conversations of the brothers' indiscretions.
I told her I was staying at a hotel, but was actually with another woman. Such a stupid wife.
The new girlfriend is young and cute, right? Why not have a child with her?
That's a good idea. Milk her for money in the divorce settlement and then dump her.
Listening to the playback, my husband's forehead was beaded with sweat.
This is...
I've been investigating ever since I noticed your affair. I had secretly accessed his mobile phone. The passcode was his birthday, easy to guess. It was then I got Bill's contact and asked for his cooperation. I found lovey-dovey messages with young girls, disgusting photos and videos in a hotel. Just remembering it makes me shudder. I trembled, recalling the traumatizing images.
Sneaking into my phone is underhanded.
I don't want to hear that from a cheating husband. I'll get compensation for the affair and demand a divorce. Child support will be deducted from your salary.
I shouted.
Who's going to pay that money?
It's pointless to refuse. I've already talked to your boss who gave that speech at our wedding.
Talk to my boss?
His face of despair was so pitiful, it was almost laughable.
This condo is in my name, so leave immediately. Your belongings have already been sent back to your parents' house.
Does that mean Mom and Dad know everything?
Of course. They said they're cutting ties with both you and Mary as their children.
What? Taking away my home and even my parents' house? What kind of a person does that?
It wasn't taken from you. You destroyed it yourself.
As I said this with a cold gaze, my husband slumped to his knees, defeated. Bill shook off Mary's desperate grasp and threw her out of the house. I glared at my husband and delivered my final words.
I never want to see your face again. Get out!
With a suddenly aged face, my husband hunched over and left the house. Later, Mary was divorced, and naturally Bill got custody of the children. He took them to his work location and planned to raise them with the help of his parents.
Thank you, Aunt Lucy.
My niece, who had always been apologizing, gave me a handmade beaded bracelet. Seeing her smile, I sincerely hoped for her happiness from now on. I immediately divorced my husband too. I demanded $20,000 in compensation from both my ex-husband and his mistress, and also filed for child support. My ex-husband was also sued for compensation by the mistress's husband, amounting to a considerable sum. After everything got exposed at his workplace, my ex-husband was disliked by his boss, demoted, and unable to endure the cold treatment from his colleagues, he soon quit the company. I heard rumors that my ex-husband is now doing day labor, and Mary is working overnight just to get by. I safely gave birth to a baby girl. I'm determined to raise her to be as kind-hearted as my niece.